Hey, stop me if you felt this way, and I bet you have. I know I have, and don't stop me, actually, because I think it's really important and it goes overlooked. We don't pay much attention to it, and I think it's kind of pivotal. It's the kind of thing we need to recognize, exercise, and manage. Okay, so here goes. So you got this friend, and things are going along fine, and then suddenly you trust them, they trust you enough that you don't even think about whether you trust each other. It's not a question. And then something happens, and we call it getting triggered, but I want to get more specific than that. What happens is you suddenly worry that uh, you've not been paying enough attention because actually this person is taking advantage of you, screwing you over, cheating on you, treating you badly, disrespecting you, that sort of thing. And so you're triggered. But what gets triggered? What exactly gets triggered? Well, one thing is you become hyper vigilant. You are watching that other person now because you got this suspicion and you're looking for further evidence that this person is treating you badly, treating you with disrespect. Another thing is you gird your loins for battle, as you're prepared for conflict. And for that, what you do is you you're you're not really paying much attention to what you're doing because you know that you're just trying to defend yourself from someone who's gotten potentially dangerous to you. And so you feel kind of pure. It's almost like you're girding your loins for holy war. That is, no, you don't have to worry about your behavior. It's their behavior that's the question. And so you're monitoring it closely. And part of your power or conviction comes from feeling pure. Like, because they're bad, you're good. Because they're getting weird, tricky, or suspicious, you feel kind of pure. Um, like, for example, if you suspect that they're lying to you or insulting you, all recollection of you ever having lied to or insulted anyone just flies out the window. It vaporizes. You have no recollection of that because you're in this place where you're paying attention to what they're doing, not what you're doing. Now, I think this happens a lot, and I think we don't recognize how stimulating it is. It's really a wake up call, and it's vitalizing. And not only that, you feel heroic because you're standing up for yourself. You're gonna straighten things out. You're gonna make things fair by your standards. You're not even paying much attention to whether your standards are right. Um, it's the standard place we seem to get when we are triggered. It's like, oh hell no, I'm not putting up with this shit. And then we get all crusady like that. Now, there's a rule that I employ with myself, or at least I try to. I think I do pretty good with it, but don't take my word for that. Don't take my word on anything I say about myself. I don't take your word on anything you say about yourself. That is, you're entitled to your own opinion about what's going on with me. But I do have an idea that I like to live by. It's a 5 minute rule. I can lash out like that. I can be triggered like that. Oh hell no! You're the problem for 5 minutes, and then I have to visit what I call the Youmeus question. Is the problem you? Is the problem me? Is the problem us? Incompatibility, something like that. But I do know how exciting it is, how thrilling it is to instantly relieve the tension of potential conflict by deciding the problem is them, not me. You're the problem, not me. That whole holy war feeling. I'll get there because I'm scared, but I also get advantages from it. If I find myself in that stimulated place where I feel pure, it's what I call exempt by contempt. That is, because I have contempt for this thing that I think you're doing to me, that proves that I'm exempt from doing it. I also call it defaulty logic. Since you're wrong, it proves I'm right by default. I know that that's actually a stimulating feeling. And it takes a lot to come off that high. That high of feeling threatened, feeling scared. There's all sorts of advantages to it. For example, you can win valuable prizes by being the one who is outraged and enjoying righteous indignation. And it not only feels good, but people will often back off or apologize to you, and you'll feel righteous, and it'll be very affirming. So I want to recognize that it's an addictive feeling that's really hard to let go of, and that some people fall into it and never come out of it. The world owes them an apology. We have lots of names for this stuff. We called them Karen a few years ago. It's that huffy feeling, that outrage, that holy warrior feeling, that feeling like no deed is too dirty for a saint like me trying to stand up for what's holy. That's an attractive feeling, and some people never let go of it. They get addicted to it. They get on the feed of something that I will call scornography. Scornography is the pornographic excitement of scorn, hatred of someone else. And also, it's satisfying because if you're in that state of righteous indignation, you deflect any counter argument to you. Anybody who is attacking you, that's the whole point. Anybody who's attacking you is actually the problem, because you're in this outraged state. So we all recognize that you can have two people who are triggered in opposite ways, and the conflict just escalates up, and we think it's a bad thing. And I do think it's a bad thing, but I don't think that we manage it the way we need to. We talk about it as a bad thing, and then we go around accusing people of being triggered. You're just angry. You should calm down. You're upset. I can see I've upset you. That proves you're wrong and that I'm holy. So there's a whole other layer of it that any of us can add, where, for example, I deal a lot with Trumpists who are in this state constantly, but a lot of them have a practiced way of playing holy on their high horse. We used to say that when they go low, you go high. They go low or high, and one of the more powerful ways for them to act is to, when they say that you've got Trump derangement syndrome, what they're doing is they're saying, shame on you, you've been triggered. That proves I'm right. So I don't think that we should simply condemn scornography any more than we should condemn pornography. I like pornography. I have for a long time. I'm a guy, so there's that. And the question for me is how to manage it. I don't want to be ashamed of it. I want to recognize I have this appetite, that it's an appetite for a certain kind of fictional loftiness. So I am drawing here a direct parallel between pornography and scornography, including the shame and shaming we do around both. Trumpists have become tantrumplicans addicted to scornography. And my problem with them is not that they should be selfless and holy like me and not get into the righteous indignation stuff and love us all and be appreciative of us all and never hate anyone. I don't think that stuff works. That would just be me trying to get them off their high horse so I can get on their high horse instead. I think what we have to do is learn to channel that stuff into fiction. Moral outrage is satisfying, especially if you can do it in a way that where your shit talk is all you hear. You don't hear the shit talk back at you. And I think about how our culture has moved more and more into the satisfactions of dishing it out without having to take it in. So an early example for some people who are alive today is Xbox, where people would shit talk at each other. And if you're doing that thing, it's kind of fun, and you're doing it in fiction. But you're doing it in a way, from what I understand, you're not taking seriously the shit talk that's leveled at you. The only thing you might take from someone shit talking you is some shit talk that you can use on other people later. It's a way of not listening at all to someone else's use of you as scornography and just using other people as your objects of scornography. Just shit talk at each other. And it's kind of fun and it's exciting and you get better at it. And then we see the same thing translated into Trump trolls. I deal as much as I can with Trump trolls, and one thing you can say about them is that they never respond, don't act like they even hear anything you level at them. Say the entire Trump movement is people who have discovered the joys of scornography, take it to the extreme, totally addicted to it, and never, ever having to listen to the retaliation. Everything that you say to a Trumpist just rolls off the duck's back, like water off a duck's back. That is, they're not paying attention. They're not listening to it. They're just shit-talking the way that people did on Xbox. And it's putting our country in a dangerous position. And then on top of that, we got a new way to do it. You can shit-talk through AI. So AI is going to be fascinating this way. It's going to be really dangerous this way. So imagine this. You just get AI to read the attacks on you and generate attacks on whoever attacked you. And you're taken right out of the loop. You don't have to pay any attention to any of it. It would be easy, I think, for someone to set up a robotic shit talker that simply shit talks out to the world. It might listen, the AI might listen to what other people say in response, just so it can generate the next response. But you don't have to be even part of it at all. I want to draw another parallel here, which is one thing that's always been popular is talking to God or communing with God, your imaginary name-droppable ally, but never really having to deal with any pushback from God. That is, you get to design your God. I know there are people who feel guilty under God's influence, as if God is talking to them and shaming them. I know that's a big deal, especially for kids. But I do suspect that a lot of people talk to a God who is merely comforting, kind of a yes man, an imaginary name-droppable ally yes man. I think there's also something like that in the satisfaction of scorning your imaginary evil voice. That is, scolding Satan and not having to hear back from him. I think this is a human appetite. So I can imagine that AI will come in really handy in two ways. One is that it'll enable you to talk to someone who supports you, who supports your beliefs, who's with you and cares about your commitments. And the other is that you'll be able to shit talk at others. And in both cases, you don't actually have to hear any feedback. You don't have to hear the other voices that are talking back at you. We'll end up with robotic conflict and robotic in-group confirmation. And I'm worried about it, because what I'm ultimately worried about is what I'll call the dissociation death spiral. If we're not good at fighting, if we're not good at arguing, if we're not good at debating, and reality gets hard, we'll all come up with basically robotic ways to affirm ourselves. And affirming ourselves, there's two parts to affirming oneself. I call it sadonarsissism, but that's actually redundant. There are two ways to feel better about yourself. One is to lift yourself up, and the other is to demote others. So they kind of go hand in hand. Narcissism, the self-elevation, can also be done by putting others down. And I'm worried that we're going to check out more and more into a kind of a robotic heroism and a robotic villainizing of other people. So what's the solution I'm suggesting? I think we have to get better at recognizing, exercising, and managing this appetite for scornography. We have to admit to it. We have to stop pretending we're too humble and virtuous to engage in scornography. I don't think that's working. I don't think it's worked for 3,000 years. We've been trying it since the beginning of Christianity. I think we have to get better at exercising it in fiction, and it's easy to do. Xbox is an example of it. That kind of busting of each other's balls that can be part of some societies. I think that video games and all sorts of ways to pretend it. Here's a good example would be spectator sports. Is the amount of moral outrage you have when a call is against your team, and the amount of cheering for your own virtue when a call is in your team's favor. I think that stuff is a safe and relatively harmless way to vent, to exercise this need for righteous indignation. Better there than in politics. And so I just wanted you to think about that overall phenomena, to own that you've probably felt that way before. That kind of, oh, hell no, girding your loins for battle. The problem is you. The problem is not me. I don't even have to look at my own behavior. It's kind of freedom from looking at your own behavior. I've long said that the Trumpists blare their police sirens so loud at everybody else that it drowns out all self-reflection. And what I'm saying is that that's a human joy. It's a human source of reassurance and relief. We need it. We just can't afford to do it in public. My point over and over, goes without saying but bears repeating, is self-love, self-affirmation, self-reassurance is important. But get a room, don't let it go to your head, zip up after, and don't turn basic infrastructure into your circle jerk vanity project. So I'm inviting you to think with me about how to manage this appetite for scornography. And I don't think we manage it successfully by saying, yeah, other people indulge in it, but not me.